It is genuinely hilarious how governments will blindly hand over hundreds of millions of dollars to overconfident tech bros to build quote-unquote flawless digital ID apps, only to get completely dismantled by their own incompetence almost instantly. Like, imagine just trying to apply for a job or just check your taxes, and you end up completely locked out of your own legal existence just because a buggy camera app just decided your face simply does not match the database, or the app literally just crashes on the loading screen. We keep watching the same exact cycle play out all over the world right now in 2026. Politicians proudly stepping up to a podium to announce a brand new mandatory digital ID checkpoint, and then the entire system just instantly collapses into a massive PR disaster the second regular people actually use it and actually hear about it. Like, they sell these systems as the ultimate modern pretty much convenience. But behind all the slick marketing, these platforms, well, they are just usually held together by absolute duct tape, built by the lowest bidder, and then just pushed onto the public with zero actual foresight. Like, the absolute hubris of these officials, well, it's just mind-boggling, because they act like they have magically solved the incredibly complex issue of verifying human identity on the internet, just completely ignoring the fact that their grand plans just keep blowing up in their damn faces. To really understand how disastrous these rollouts get, you have to look at the absolute meltdown that just happened in the United Kingdom over the last few months. So back in September of last year, the Prime Minister of the UK would confidently announce a brand new digital ID scheme. But he literally bluntly told the public that if you do not have a digital ID, you just simply cannot get a job. But that's just absolutely unhinged. The pitch was that making it mandatory, well, it would pretty much crack down on the shadow economy, which sounds like a tough, decisive, amazing political move until you realize that they basically just dropped this massive, life-altering requirement on the public with nearly out of the blue, no warning. And obviously the reaction was basically immediate and entirely hostile. Instead of people blindly accepting it, well, the public got totally spooked out by the idea of government overreach, and a petition to stop the mandatory ID just exploded online, gathering almost, I believe, 3 million signatures in record time. It was such a poorly communicated, rushed mess that by early of this year, the government had to do a massive humiliating walk of shame and just completely roll back the whole mandatory element of this scheme. The UK's own Home Affairs Committee, well, they literally published a report which is genuinely so funny. They called the whole launch a quote-unquote fiasco, and saying that the plans were literally doomed to fail from the start because they were just so weakly developed. They hyped up a mandatory digital bouncer for the entire country's workforce without even having a credible roadmap for how it would actually be implemented in the first place. You just cannot make that up. That's just ridiculous. But if you think the UK fumbling the bag on the public relations side is bad, well, you have to look at the absolute, it's actually interesting, geopolitical comedy show happening right now in the Netherlands. So, well, the Dutch, well, they have this massive national digital identity system, and I believe it is called DigiD, which around 14 million people use for basically, I believe, everything from health insurance and pension funds to municipal services and finder taxes. The entire backbone of this massive system was hosted by a private IT provider called Solvinity, and everything was coasting actually pretty fine until late last year, when an American multinational tech corporation called Kyndryl, I think that's how you say it, announced a deal to buy Solvinity for around $130 million. And the Dutch parliament, well, they obviously panicked because lawmakers, well, they started freaking out about the national security risks. Because if you do not know, here in the US there's a law called the Cloud Act, where US authorities, well, they can actually legally force American-owned companies to hand over data they control, even when the data is stored on servers all the way in a different continent. Like, the outrage escalated so quickly that a member of parliament, they literally stood up and warned that if the buyout went through, well, the US could like just shut down the entire Dutch digital government within like the single push of a button, which is kind of insane to say, but it's kind of true. Like, it just encapsulates the whole digital ID nightmare, like a country putting all of its eggs into one digital basket, only to realize that a foreign government can just end up holding all like the data for hostage. Now, this is where the story gets really messy, but also like really juicy, because for months the Dutch government honestly looked like completely like helpless. Like, the parliament, well, they voted on a motion basically demanding that the government make sure DigiD's data will just never ended up in America's hands. But the government's own IT agency was backed into such an incredibly embarrassing like corner, because they literally cannot run a system without this private contractor. So, despite the massive national security outcry and a group of Dutch technologists like privacy advocates just actually dragging the government to court to try and stop it, well, officials went ahead and renewed Salvini's contract for another 2 years anyway, just to keep the lights on. Like, they have built a system just so massive and so totally reliant on one private company that even when there's like a geopolitical security risk, like, they could just not walk away. Like, that's just insane. But there's a plot twist, because a few weeks ago, on May 26th, the government, well, they finally found the one lever it could actually pull. Instead of just touching the contract, well, it just straight up blocked the entire American buyout. The state secretary, well, they slapped a complete prohibition on Kyndryl acquiring Solvinity. And obviously Kyndryl, like, they were disappointed, obviously, and whined that the whole thing had to be, like, politicized. But it was, like, done. Like, the Dutch, they basically spent months looking at they were getting steamrolled and just yanked the plug on the Americans at the last possible second. Like, it's kind of funny if you think about it. So when you step back and look at the sheer scale of these failures across like the world right now, you realize that we're constantly being sold a futuristic dream by out-of-touch politicians and tech executives who just cannot even handle the most basic logistics of the systems they are demanding we use. Like, we are seeing this trickle down everywhere, from national identity networks all the way down to like the absolute mess of state-level mobile driver's licenses. Like, it's just genuinely baffling that we just keep repeating this exact same like cycle, handing over incredibly sensitive, highly personal data to private tech contractors who basically hold the government hostage because the infrastructure is too complicated to fix when things go wrong. Like, the Netherlands, like, it only barely managed to claw back control of its own system, and the UK had to torch its entire flagship plan after the public just absolutely flamed them. And they're supposed to be the countries that have their act together. Like, the truth is, until these officials like actually like start presenting credible roadmaps and just stop treating national infrastructure like a beta test for some outsourced tech firm, well, the push for mandatory digital IDs is just like going to keep blowing up in their faces. And there's probably going to be more failures down the road. Like, governments will just keep on trying to shove our faces with this whole digital ID stuff, and once again, it will just probably not work out or lead to some disaster or data breaches. Like, you don't know. So yeah, that's it for this video. Drop a comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.